Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. Got a great guest this week. We've got Neil Napier joining us, and Neil's going to be talking about his products and a number of other things. It's going to be fascinating. And I've got my great co-host here, Cindy Nicholson. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself, Cindy?
Hi, everyone. It's Cindy from thecoursewhisperer.co, where I help entrepreneurs create their online course.
And Neil, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to listeners and viewers?
Absolutely. So this is Neil Napier, and we too help people turn what they know, their knowledge, into something they can sell.
That sounds fascinating. And before I hand it over to Cindy, I just want to quickly talk about one of our great sponsors. We really appreciate, and that's WP Fusion. And what is WP Fusion? Well, if you've got a WordPress-powered membership website or learning management system, and you want to put it on steroids, this is the product for you. Basically, it enables your WordPress website to really totally integrate with your CRM. Example, Active Campaign. Obviously, there's a number of them like Drip and a number of others. And WP Fusion communicates with almost 40 of the CRM systems. And like what I said, it enables them to really communicate with these systems, so you can really plan custom drip marketing campaigns and other automation processes on your website to a level which would be unachievable without WP Fusion. The other factor is, if you go to the WP Fusion website, and there'll be links in the show notes, they have offered us an exclusive deal to WP-Tonic and our listeners and viewers. And that's if you go to the website and you decide to buy one of their packages and you put in the coupon code WP-Tonic, all uppercase, one word, you will get 25% off any of their packages. And that is an exclusive deal for WP-Tonic listeners and viewers. So I suggest you should get over there quick and take advantage of this fantastic offer. So I'm now going to send this interview over to Cindy, and off you go, Cindy.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hello, Neil. Thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate you coming online.
Of course, I'm happy to be here, Cindy.
Coming all the way from Finland, so it's a little bit later where you are. So I've been watching you for a while, Neil, in the work that you're doing with Kyvio and your more recent work, and I've been really impressed with, the community that you're building and the support that you give to them. So can you just tell us a little bit more about what Kyvio is and how you help your customers?
Sure. So me and my business partner discussed this some time ago. We thought about what is our why, what's our mission there, and we are leaning more towards this knowledge, this mentality shift in the people, in helping to get them from just knowing things or just doing things into actually creating and selling those things. So not just being consumers, but also being creators and actually monetizing what they know. And that's been our core focus for quite some time now. And Kyvio as a platform and My First 1,000 as a community gives us exactly that. So Kyvio is a platform that helps business owners build their funnels, membership sites, send out marketing emails, all from one place. And even if they want to have affiliates and manage those affiliates, they can do that as well from within the platform. And My First 1,000 is a community that complements what we do with Kyvio, where our actual goal, is to help 1,000 people get to their first $1,000 with the power of membership sites. So we do a lot of free training within this group. We recently had a 5-day live training series, and on one of those days, Ryan Dice came in and shared how he runs a $500,000 per month membership site. So that's our goal, to inspire people, to give them tips and techniques that they can use to build courses, to sell courses, and lead a comfortable life by doing so.
Awesome. I love how you've kind of pivoted slightly in terms of the work that you're doing. Now, what was it that made you want to do this slight pivot to kind of really focus on helping your clients get their first 1,000? Was it from the customers, or was it just a difference that you were finding from a business strategy?
It was more of a business strategy thing because, truth be told, we got a lot of sales with Kyvio, and some of them churned out as it happens because it's a monthly platform. And we asked them, why aren't you utilizing it to the full? Why did you stop paying? And most of them said, I don't quite know how to sell my course, or like I have all these ideas, I don't know what to do with it. So we realized that, if you truly want to help people, just giving them a platform is not enough. We should go beyond that and also give them training that they can use and create things with. And since then, we've noticed as well, honestly speaking, that our churn rate has gone down too, and people are now more willing to learn and implement as they go along.
And so why did you decide to focus on the My First 1,000 in terms of the first $1,000 you earned from the membership site?
So we were thinking about branding quite a bit because I think branding, as long as you have something catchy, something good, it sticks. And, first I came up with the idea that, hey, I want to help 1,000 people make money online. But my business partner, Stephen, he said, it's a little bit too self-centered. Let's try and make it more about them. So I said, okay, well, I want to help them make money. And he said, how much? I said, I want to help people who were like me 5 years ago, who just wanted to validate the idea that they can do it too. I want to help them because I see myself in them. So we decided that, 1,000 is a good starting point. And we also talked to a few people. We did a discovery call with them and we asked them, what would $1,000 mean to you? And, it's interesting because some people in the US or in Europe, they would say $1,000 is okay. It'll pay for my holiday, or I can do this couple of other things. But then we talked to people in Asia or Latin America and we asked them, what would $1,000 be for you? And they said it would be really, really big because that's what people make here in 3 months. And then we realized that, money means different to everyone. But if we create a group centered around results, focus, what we want people to get, for them, it'll mean, making first $1,000. But eventually they'll say, okay, my first 1,000 is now about getting my first 1,000 subscribers, or members. So it's always a goal that you keep on kind of moving forward. And that way you always keep on looking at the next thing you want to do.
Yeah, no, that's great. Because I also imagine that the first 1,000 is kind of getting that momentum going as well. As if you can get to 1,000, then getting to the next barrier is so much easier. But it's that initial support that they need to get up and running, and the help in terms of what kind of things they need to know at that particular level. So that being said, what do you find, clients who are working towards getting their first 1,000, what kinds of things do you help them with, or what kind of support do they need?
Sure. So I'll be honest, the biggest challenge, and I've done a few calls about this with them as well, the biggest problem or challenge that they have is the confidence issue. So they feel that their idea is not worthy enough, or they don't know enough to teach someone else, or no one's going to pay them $100 to learn from them. And I find that, that's a mental obstacle that's holding a lot of people back. So a lot of things we do inside the group is about breaking that barrier. A lot of posts that we make inside the group is about sharing success stories of people who come from, difficult places. And, these people are Kyvio customers or people I work with, or some are really successful people. And we share these inspiring stories to show people that it can be done, that regardless of what their current state is or state of mind is, they can break through these barriers and do it. And once they overcome this, then of course you have more technical challenges. Like, if I don't have a market in mind, what market should I go after? Or how should I decide my customer avatar? Or how should I think about, positioning my product? Or should it just be one course, or should it be a complete offer? So all those things are things that we answer sporadically within the group. We have some pre-recorded training already available there. For example, the live interview with Brian Dice is also in that group already. But people can go in and they can kind of learn the bare necessities that they need to build a membership site and then drive traffic to it. So we provide all the information for free.
That's great. And it's so funny how mindset just keeps coming up again and again and again. When I first started in this entrepreneurial world, never even thought about that. I was more worried about the website and everything. But again, same thing for me in terms of working with clients. It's often the mindset that holds them back. And the ones that are successful are the ones that just do it anyway. And they just move forward and figure it out as they go. So do you have an example, like a story that you can share of somebody who did overcome that with the work that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I recently did an interview with a customer from Venezuela. And I mean, Venezuela is in kind of a difficult state at the moment with their finances and whatnot. And I mean, when he told me that he's from there, I piqued my interest because I was interested in how he's faring as well at the moment. And he said it was quite big for him in construction, back in the day when everything was booming, everything was good. He was making a lot of money with that. But as the economy started to shrink, like, he had to ply his trade elsewhere. But doing so in a shrinking economy is not an easy thing to do. So he turned online and he started learning a lot of new things about marketing, and he realized that what he knew about construction or working, doing DIY stuff, he could turn that into a course and he could teach other people. So he turned around, and I think within the last 12 months or so, he's made $30,000. And, 30,000 might be a small number for, again, people in the US or, Europe. It might be a little bit under a year's worth of salary, but for him, it's a lot of money. And I think he's using that now in a way to inspire other people as well, to show them that they can also make it online just by transferring their skills, what they know, into something they can teach other people.
Yeah, it's amazing how that can be done with membership sites, for sure. So can you just tell us a little bit about, some of the mistakes people make when they first are starting out with their membership sites or their courses that they're creating?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you two examples here because I think they stand out. One of them is from someone who I was talking with who has made $1,000 as well, even before he got into the group. And I asked him, he told me, Neil, this is like really good training. I enjoyed it. And I just want to let you know that I made my first $1,000 already, but I'm looking forward to make the next one. And I'm like, great. What did you think about the training? He said, I've been doing this since March. And I have to say that I learned everything with hidden trial. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way as well. So I didn't choose the right platform, or I didn't have the right sequence for when I was launching the product. I didn't build a list. I didn't build a community. So he said, but now I know all of this. I can focus my efforts into doing this and make it work. So that's the first example. Second example is of another student who used to be in healthcare. And she quit that. And for the last 10 years, she's been teaching other people healthcare locally. And recently, about 6 months or so ago, she decided to build a course. And, she was kind of hesitant coming into the group. She said that, am I really going to get value out of this? I already have my course. I know what I'm doing. And we said, that's perfectly fine. Hopefully you get some value out of it. Just watch the trainings. And she did. And she realized that she had a lot of gaps in that because even though she was already selling a few copies of her course every month, she still didn't know what her market was because she was selling to anyone who would buy. She didn't know her customer avatar. And so that way she couldn't really scale this up because she didn't know what kind of traffic she wanted. So I think with a lot of people, I find that it's good to go in head first. And I always say that, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. So it's good to go in head first. But once you've done that, you got to come back out again and you have to reevaluate and see what are the missing gaps and slowly start filling them in. Just because you've made money or you've done a course, it's not enough to say that you're going to continually sell it. But if you do get your fundamentals right, I think you can do a good job at that as well.
Right. Yeah. It's, people talk about it being passive income, but in order for it to be a consistent, ongoing, sustainable thing, you always need to be doing tweaks and taking a look at it to see what else you can do to improve it.
And that also reminds you very quickly about that expression that overnight, I'm a millionaire, but being an overnight millionaire took 10 years to make. So.
Yeah, exactly. So what are some of the main questions you're getting from these, your clients that are in your My First 1,000? What kinds of things are they looking to you for advice of?
So a lot of them are looking to validate the idea before they finish creating their product. So they already started creating the product, and when they watched the live trainings, they realized they hadn't quite validated the idea. So that's something they keep coming back with. And what I recommend to them in such a case is to build out a sales page, even if it's a small sales page, and target your audience with that. But instead of selling the product, what you can do is, on the buy button, you can clearly write down that this is, we're opening up a beta group for 5 people only because we need immediate feedback. So the copies might run out. And if it does, we'll let you know in future. So people have to click. And when they click, if you can register that click already, you know that they're interested to buy. And, when they do click, you say, hey, we've just run out, but you can leave your email address here and we'll get in touch with you as soon as we decide to reopen it. And when they leave the email address, they're definitely interested. So if you do that, you can validate the idea even before you've started building out the product, which is something we do. It really helps because, we have so many ideas, you have hundreds of ideas, but a quick way to test out which one will work the best is just set up a quick sales page. Between writing and designing takes about 12 to 16 hours. And once you push that out to your audience, they'll give you the feedback. So if you get 100 clicks on the page, if 5 of them click, then you know how much money you can potentially make from that idea. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Validating is so important initial step. And I think in your group, the My First 1,000, you recently did a Facebook Live on how to actually put that sales page together. Am I correct?
So that one's actually tonight. So I'm doing the validation idea tonight.
Yeah. Okay, so stay tuned for that one.
Yeah.
Okay, Jonathan. Thank you, Neil. Jonathan, I'm going to pass it back to you. Oh, you're on mute, Jonathan.
Thanks, Cindy. I'm going to go for our break, folks. We'll be back, and we'll be back with this fascinating interview with Neil. We'll be back in a few moments. We're coming back. I'm actually going to throw it back to Cindy so she can continue, because you seem to be in full flow there, Cindy. We'll continue for a little while, and I might just jump in.
So another thing that I saw in your My First 1,000 that you were giving advice on was about pricing. And I think you have a strategy that you recommend people go through in terms of pricing their courses and membership sites. Maybe you can share some of your thoughts there, Neil, because that's always a burning issue. How much do I charge?
It is, absolutely. I mean, one thing I will say to begin with is charge less than what you think your course is worth, because that way you're always giving people value. And you can justify it like, you know, if I was to buy this myself, I'd be happy to pay $9.97, but you're getting it for $4.97. So first of all, always pricing it below what you think is worth is a good thing. But more importantly, what I try and tell people is that simply having a product is not enough, because a product is actually a starting point. A course is a starting point. What people need beyond that is more help, implementation help, or they could need checklists or templates or some done-for-you things if you can afford to give them that, or group calls or one-on-one calls, whatever you can afford to give. So if you really want to build a good, offer, you build a product and then you build other elements around it that will help people overcome any objections or obstacles they have. And as you do that, your valuation goes up as well. So we actually built a calculator. So if people go to myfirst1000.com/calculator, you can find the calculator there where you can answer a few questions about your course, about your offer, and it will give you a suggested price. And, as I say, price below that, just because that way you can give immense value. But there are a few things I would recommend doing. First of all, look at your competitors. If your competitors are already creating and selling such a course, that will give you some idea. If you feel you don't have competitors, look again. But in case you don't have competitors, I would recommend thinking about how much time you're saving someone by giving them that course. We had one My First 1,000 graduate who came on who did an interview with us, and what he said was that with this course, what I'm teaching people, when they implement it, they already save like $1,000 every week. So I'm confident of pricing it at $1,000, which he did, which people were happy to pay. So because he just showed them the value of it. Like if you just implement this, you will save $1,000 in your business just by doing this every single week. So that way people said, okay, $1,000 just makes sense. So he based it on the value, and that's how he priced it. So there are different ways of doing it. I recommend using a calculator because that takes away the subjectivity that you might have in your mind. And yeah, try that out.
Oh, so that's interesting, because often you'll hear people say charge more than what you think it is worth. So can you give me a little bit more, thought or rationale around why you think you should go less?
Sure. I think here's the thing. Other than just making money, I'm out there to help as many people as I can. Now, I do think that if I price low, number one, I'll get more customers. If all numbers stay intact, I will get more customers because, of course, I'm going lower. And I'll be able to impact on more lives. I'll be able to affect more lives. But if you always think about pricing higher, that's, just pricing it higher for the sake of it makes it sound to me like you don't really know the value of what you're doing enough. Pricing higher is okay if it's a service. Like if you are doing a done-for-you service for other people and you're charging $1,000 a month and you oversubscribe, it's okay telling them that, hey, we're going to raise it to $2,000, just so that I have more time to help everyone. But if it's a digital course, if it's something that you don't have to be constantly involved in, it doesn't make a difference if you price it $100 lower, because as I said, you'll get more customers, you'll impact more lives, and you might even get more people buying in just because they can afford it and they feel like now it's more of a steal than it was before. So I think pricing lower is not so that you lower the value of your course in your own mind. but that way you're able to justify to others that it's truly worth that much, but you can get it for less.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. That sounds good. So in terms of, now, do you advocate for these people when they're starting out with the first 1,000 that they start out with a course, or do you recommend that they start with the membership site or a combination, or what are your thoughts around, getting started with creating some sort of information product for your clients?
So, of course, the very first step, like I keep saying, is a sales page, because you need that just to validate the idea. But once you have that, then it's okay to have a bare bones membership site. You don't need to put too much effort in it in the beginning. I mean, I remember the very first course I recorded was, just me creating mind maps, and I still create mind maps because they're so fast to do, and I just put them out there. So another strategy that I've been using recently, it's called the invisible funnel. And the idea with the invisible funnel is that you actually sell a course, not just you validate the idea, but you sell a course even before you created it, and you create it live. So what happens in that case is, say, if I'm going to do a course about, how to play a flute, for example, if that's what the course is going to be about, I'll sell the idea for $1, and I'll tell people that it's only $1. 3 days later, we're doing a live webinar, and it's going to be a value-packed 2-3 hour session. And if you feel that you get enough value out of that, I'm going to automatically charge you $49. But if you feel you didn't, if you feel that's not good enough for you, you let me know and I'll pay you that money back, or I'll refund you, I'll cancel, whatever you tell me, within the next 24 hours. So we tried that out recently, and we had 150 people sign up for $1, and 100 of them actually showed up live for the webinar, which is a really good show-up rate. And about 75 of them stayed till the end. And most of them paid, either the full payment or part payment, because we had a part payment set up then. And we made about $3,480 or so just from doing that. And I created the product live on call. I mean, again, I said the mind map before, and I did the whole product live on a webinar. And then I later on took it, broke it up into smaller chunks, and put in a members area, gave people extra templates and checklists so they would stick. And that way I didn't have to work before to sell the idea. Now, if only 2 people had signed up, I could have said, hey, it's not happening anymore. Something came up. I'm just going to cancel this. Here's your money back. But because I had the validation and the money, now I had more of an impetus to actually do it.
Wow, that's great. That's a good story. Thank you for sharing that. That's an interesting perspective. So again, as I've mentioned, I've been following you on Facebook and everything, and in your group, My First 1,000, and you kind of have been sharing your strategies around your Facebook group in terms of as a way to build your audience, in terms of kind of almost using it as an example of what you're doing is something that people can do. So can you share some of your strategies that you've been doing in your Facebook group to help build that audience?
Sure. So I think we can all agree that it's easier to retain old customers than get new ones. That just costs more. But if you already have a customer, it's easier to continue talking to them. And when you have something to offer, they're more likely to buy. So we create communities because we feel that it gives me an environment to put what I have in my head out for people for free. I mean, that gives them a lot of value. And again, hopefully one day they purchase something from us. But for people, not only does it give them free content, but also a place where they're like-minded people, where they won't be judged for stupid questions, where they can ask anything they want and they can help each other as well. So if you have a community, you have a place that is your own. I mean, everyone talks about being an expert, or they feel like they're not an expert. But trust me, if you have a community of 100 people, for them, you are the expert. When you do a live video, when you post something, they're not going to look at you as a peer. Rather, they're going to look at you as someone who knows more than they do. And that gives you an automatic authority. So I'm always open to showing people in a meta way what I'm doing is something they can do as well. Like they were asking, you're right, they were asking, oh, but if I want to build a community, how should I go about it? I said, look what I did with My First 1,000 and do the same thing. It just worked. I mean, we built a community of 1,000 people, I think, in a couple of weeks. So if people were to just duplicate what they see being done online, I'm sure they will have a lot of success with it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Just follow what other successful people are doing and use the similar strategies and they'll work. Okay, so here's just another question, because again, we're very philosophically aligned in terms of what content and how it should be structured and everything like that. So my last question for you is around, one of the things when people spend all this time creating a course, and then they sell it, and then either people don't complete it or they never come back to it. For me, which says, well, how are you going to get that ongoing, revenue if you can't get the people to stay, sort of thing. So what kind of, because I saw your blog post recently, what are some of your thoughts around how to get people, once they are in, to continue on with the course and complete it?
So I'll kind of paraphrase what Ryan Dice said when he was on that session with us. He actually said that building a community, a paid community, really helps people get together in one place. And he said a lot of people, they surveyed them, a lot of people actually stay in the recurring membership group, not because of the content, but because of the Facebook group, because there are 12,000 other people in that group and they get a lot of value. So one thing you can do, once you get big enough, is you can add a community element to your course as well. The other thing that I noticed someone else doing, and I was really impressed, to the point that we're going to start bringing some of those techniques into Kyvio's members area as well, that when you finish a course, you get a certificate. And there's even a leaderboard, for example. So when you're doing a course, as long as you don't mind being public, your name will be published on a leaderboard if you have finished a course, for example. Then there's also, he said that when you finish this course, and it was like $1,000 course, he said, I'll send you a handwritten letter with my personal email address that you can contact me anytime you want. So that also made me feel like, he actually cares a lot, and he does. So all these kind of personal touches really gives me more incentive to finish a course myself. So I paid for that, and I finished the course in 3 days, because I was like, I really want to get that letter with his email, because I had some more questions for him in terms of business. So I think I say this, and a lot of people say that my job is selling a course or a membership site access. I don't care if people go through it or not. I do think, to an extent, as a vendor, it is our responsibility, because if people do go through the course, they will keep coming back. So it is your job to, if they haven't logged in a month later, you can email them and say, is everything okay? Is there something I can help you with? Is there any more content you would like? And then that way they give you more ideas for products that they want as well. So it's a win-win.
That's so true. And I just feel really strongly about creating the quality of the course itself, because, any client that I've worked with, their plan hasn't been to just create the one course and be done with it. It's kind of almost been the foundation of this broader offer that they have, whether it's membership sites, whether it's masterminds. It really kind of starts with the course itself, from what the clients that I've worked with. And if you don't impress them in that first stage, then you're not going to get them into the next level. So for me, I think it's worthwhile, or time well spent, to focus on, the quality of that initial course that you put out there, so that they keep coming back for more.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great, Cindy. We need to wrap it up for the podcast part of the show, folks. Hopefully Neil will stay with us for another 10-15 minutes, which will be bonus content, which you'll be able to see on the WP-Tonic website and YouTube channel. Neil, thank you for joining us on the podcast part of the show. It's been a great discussion. How can people find out more about you and what you're up to, Neil?
Sure. Just go to Facebook and search for My First 1,000, join that group, and, we answer questions every day, and it is an absolutely free course. And you can also check out Kyvio.com and, see if it's a fit for you.
And Cindy, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to, Cindy?
Well, they can always go to the coursewhisperer.co and visit me there. So if anyone's needing some help to get that course created in a way that will create those raving fans, they can reach out to me there.
And if you want to find out more about WP-Tonic, go to our website, give us a review on iTunes. We love feedback either on the website, the Facebook page, or on iTunes. It really does help the show, the more feedback we get from our listeners and viewers. Tell us who you would like on the show and interview. Whatever you want to say, we love feedback. So we're going to end the podcast part of the show. Like I say, hopefully Neil's got enough time to have an extension of the discussion. And we'll be back next week with somebody that can give you information, advice on how to build a successful membership learning management system course, WordPress, or online marketing in general. We'll be back next week, folks. Bye. Off you go, Cindy. Continue the discussion.
Oh, you want me to keep going? All right.
Yeah, you seem to be in full.
Yeah, you've researched well, Cindy, I have to say.
Well, I like to know who's going to be on our show.
I appreciate it.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of take a step away from membership sites per se, and I just want to hear more about your entrepreneurial journey, like where you started and kind of how you got to where you are today, and maybe some of the big lessons that you've learned on that journey.
Sure. So if you have a few minutes, it's a funny story because, I was in England back in 2008 and 10, and 2008 is when the recession hit. I was working as a software developer for a bank, and they weren't immediately affected. Like our department was a little bit slow to get affected. So it took them 2 years, but eventually I was let go. And at that time, if I wanted to continue staying in England, I had to apply for a visa by myself. And, they had just changed the rules from where you had to be at minimum making £19,000 a year to 30,000. And I was making 24. So I had to make £6,000 more in like 8 months to basically stay there. I couldn't. I mean, I tried, but, I started doing freelance writing. I just didn't make enough money. But then I realized there was more money in copywriting, started doing that. And then I realized I was doing copy for other people who were creating and selling courses. And I thought, hey, that looks doable. So I'll just go and do that. And I did that for myself. I mean, I had some AdSense websites, made for AdSense websites back in the day. And I took some, some of the things I was doing there, turned that into a course and sold that. That did really well for me. Back then, when I say, well, I made $4,000 in profit, which was awesome. So that kind of catapulted me to just continue doing this. And eventually now I'm at a stage where I can teach other people how to do the same as well.
Wow, that's great. And where do you see, like with online courses and online learning, where do you see the trend going? 'Cause, often people say, oh, online courses are dead and all of that. Where do you see kind of things going with the opportunity out there?
So I do think it's a very big market, and I'm going to use an anecdotal example here. I know it's tough to just use an example to explain the whole situation, but it's like this. Finland has one of the highest qualities of education in the world, and that's because of the way you're taught that, because of the hands-on learning that you get as well. Now, the challenge is at the university level now, they are reducing the number of face-to-face courses you can get. So now, you're going from having 16 hours, 20 hours of courses every week where you go in to about 4 hours, and the rest of the things you have to do online yourself.
Wow.
In the recent years, we've had, I think, Howard and other universities opening up like these portals for free courses that people can enroll in as well and go through. So they don't have to go to Howard, they don't have to pay a lot of money and get a degree. They can just learn that for free. So I mean, the more and more things we do, the more it's getting to a stage where everything's going to be online eventually. I dread to think of the day when university education or school education would cease to exist, and it's all, you talk to your teachers online in a group setting. But I do think that, unfortunately, that's what we're moving towards. And if you want to teach people, this is still a good time to get started, because, it's slowly getting to the stage where the common person logs in online to learn something and not just for Netflix and HBO.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's interesting that if that's happening in Finland. I don't know what's happening here in Canada in terms of that, but because of this new medium.
Funny enough, Cindy, I don't know if Neil would be aware of this. One of the leaders in remote education has been the Open University, which is based in the UK, and a lot of not people starting on this road. But people like some of your clients and the people in Neil's Facebook group that are really looking to build a really long-term business in this sector should probably really look at the history of the Open University, because they have a lot of knowledge. I think it was started in 1962 about how you combine remote education through television, and also have weekend retreats or summer camps, and how you combine face-to-face mentorship with online education. Was you aware of the Open University at all, Neil? And if you are, do you think it gives some interesting landscapes about where online education should go in general?
So I am. So in the UK, I saw it, and they have some of those ideas in Finland as well, where, I mean, I wouldn't quite call it evening classes, but, for example, my wife, and she's graduated from university, now she wants to learn more, but she doesn't want to go back to the university to do that. And she just doesn't want to go and watch YouTube videos all the time because, one, there are too many cat videos there, and two, there's no curriculum you can follow. So, it's better for her to enroll in an open university where she can still follow a structured course at her own pace. And that gives us a lot of insights into what she wants to learn without having to go anywhere. I mean, sometimes you're right, like they have these sessions as well where you can go in and it's one session every month where the teacher's teaching live. So that's, kind of nice. I think a hybrid model would work really well. But of course, I understand that for online coaching and training, it might not always be feasible because of the global world that we're in.
Well, you could have a Zoom, you could have a virtual. I do see kind of to keep membership, to keep people involved, is that they offer different tiers, and as you progress, you at a higher price, you have more personal access to the expert or the individual while you're joining the course.
Absolutely. I think that's where the pricing thing comes in as well, where at the bare minimum, you're offering the product, but as you keep going up, you get access to me. But then if you pay a lot, then you not only get access to me, but my network as well. So you're right. I think as you raise the pricing, as you offer more, you can introduce these group sessions as well.
I just thought that was an interesting thing.
Yeah, I love the idea of a hybrid, course or community, just because there's so much that you can learn from, on your own behind the computer, receiving the information, but there's so much more that can be gleaned from more development from having that community.
The only thing, what we just discussed, there seems to be two camps with this. This developing community, high touch at certain, increasing high touch as the price increases. But then you have this other camp, don't you? And I feel a bit sad over, not sad, but you've got the kind of Flynn passive income. You get a membership site up. It's passive income. You can do it anywhere, and you won't have. It seems to be totally against what we're talking, which is high touch, isn't it? How do you deal with these two kind of these two storylines, these two camps that seem to be prevalent on the internet, Neil?
So I actually spoke to a guy recently whom I had met 4 years ago as well, and he was netting $1 million a year in net just by. He had a solid business and he was just traveling across the world and running it, but he didn't care too much to continue building it up. Like, he literally spent no time talking to any customer. He had support agents, and he wasn't selling aggressively because he had a lot of integrations and he was working with those partners. And what ended up happening is that he dropped the ball because he thought that I'm getting close to $100,000 a month in passive income and I'll just keep that going. So fast forward to 4 years, and now he's sitting at about $150,000, $175,000 a year in net profit. And I think that's happened because he took the foot off the pedal. He stopped caring. He didn't really put any more effort than setting up the business. So that can work to an extent, but right now, I mean, there's so much competition. People that were more motivated, more enthusiastic about building a business came in and absolutely crushed his business. So passive income does work, but only to a certain extent, and then it's almost no income. That's my opinion.
I think that's great. Got a finishing question, Cindy?
Maybe my last question is, what's your advice to people who are thinking, okay, I have this idea that I think people might benefit from. What's your advice for people who are thinking about, dipping their toe in this area?
So what I would say is talk to a few people. I think it's Ryan Levesque who teaches the ASK method, where he talks about doing discovery calls. I know we don't like the idea of discovering calls, but even doing a chat with someone would be really, really useful. Asking them what they're struggling with, what would it mean to them if you solve that problem? How much would they pay for that problem? Or other questions along those lines. And you'll realize very quickly, in some cases, how irresistible your offer is, or how dead your offer is that no one's going to pay for it, in which case you just don't create it. So definitely ask people. But having said that, I think it was Henry Ford who said that if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So don't just completely rely on that. That's why I say do like a mock sales page so you can validate the idea, but combine them both together and you'll hit it like perfect, nail on the head every single time.
Perfect. And a reminder to everyone tonight, which I guess if this is Facebook Live, that you've got, you're going to talk people through how to put that sales page together on My First 1,000. So people can tune into that.
Great.
That's great. I've got one final question before we wrap it up, Neil. So you lived in England, now you're living in Finland. What do you like about Finland and what you don't like about living in Finland compared to England?
I'll go with what I don't like first, and I hope my wife isn't hearing now, but I think it's a little bit far away from most places. It's a bit difficult to get to places. There's not a big entrepreneurial community here, and of course it's expensive as well. But on the other hand, it is quite a safe place. I think it can be a bit cold, but cold's not a bad thing. You can manage quite easily. And I think generally people are quite nice as well. I wouldn't say they're completely warm to you, but once you become friends with them, I think they really open up to you. And in that sense, it's a pretty good community.
And in what way do you compare it to England then? What do you think, pardon me, were the good points in living in, were there any good points in living in England, Bill?
I think there were. So, recently I went back to England for a conference, and it was kind of nice to hear English everywhere, all around. Like, everyone speaks English here as well, but it's not the lingua franca, it's not the common language. But going to England, hearing everything in English was nice. But then it went on for too long and all the accents kick in and they're not too nice. So, it depends. Like, you can only get so much of it because some of the northern English accent can be quite difficult to understand. So there is a bit of that. I think weather is still comparable in both. It's okay. But mostly I would say language is the one aspect that I miss a lot in England.
All right. Thanks, Neil, for joining us. It's been a great interview. And I think with Cindy, you've covered the enormous landscape, and it's been really fascinating. So, folks, we're going to end the video part of the show. And like I say, you want to join us next week, we'll have another guest really giving you a feast of information around how to set up your membership site. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye.